I don't know why. Maybe it's the run I did earlier, not getting enough sleep, or that I had a bunch of fruit snacks. I don't know. It was maybe a combination of all of that. But a little tired, so I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. I'm probably gonna end this geopolitics discussion pretty soon because um, I'm not really getting the folks whom I would like to get in the chat room to be able to hold the discussion. I mean, I can lecture with the best of them, but it'll be more engaging, if I actually could, feed off of the comments that people give me that go with the conversation. And that doesn't always happen with these geopolitics discussion. I'm guessing that this might be a drier conversation than, say, the stuff that we were talking about a few weeks ago, which was more fun. When I was talking about the paranormal, talking about the paranormal was fun, you know, talking about like ghosts and psychics and all that sort of stuff. That was fun. Geopolitics might be a little bit more dry. However, I thought if it if it includes the people who actually live in those places, then it would be more engaging. Like talking to the folks who actually live in that area, what they think. So I've put off that the geopolitics discussion for a few days because of the holidays, and we're getting back into it. You know, until New Year's. Then I'll do like a New Year's live stream, right? But until then, I'm gonna get back into the geopolitics discussion, and probably by the after the New Year, I'm gonna shift gears into something else. I was already hinting towards one of my moderators yesterday what I was gonna do. Alvin Gwynn says hi. What's up, Alvin? So I was telling one of my moderators that after conclude with these discussions about different geopolitics, that I'm gonna get into like these really uh, controversial um, chats about different topics and why I disagree with both sides on certain issues. Elijah and Ben says, "Yo, what's up?" So this one, like I said, so I've in the previous geopolitics discussions a week ago, I've approached talking about first the first one was America, then Europe, and then the Middle East. The Middle East one didn't. I thought that would be more. They would be more engaging than the other ones, but it wasn't. Squid Game says hello. What's up? Um, you saying what am I talking about? Geopolitics discussion is labeled in the topic. When you click on the video, it says what this topic is about. It says this is a geopolitics discussion about Southeast Asia, and it even has a map of Southeast Asia showing I'm talking about Southeast Asia. So anyway, I'm sorry. I have. This is why I couldn't be a teacher. I lack patience for people who don't pay attention. Like if I clearly put a headline up that says "Chill Politics: What's going on in Southeast Asia," then you say, "Well, what is this about?" Although I am aware that some people can click on live streams without seeing the topic, which is weird because I myself would never just jump into a live stream not knowing what it's about. But I'm not someone who will waste my time, so I guess we're different folks. In any case, so yes, the topic is about geopolitics, what's going on this time in Southeast Asia, and I was prefacing that by saying a week or so ago I have done geopolitics, and it was on different areas. I first started with the United States, of course, since that's where I'm based. Then I talked about Europe, particularly about Germany. Um, Then we talked about the Middle East. Again, I thought that would be more engaging than what it was. Um, and now we're talking about Southeast Asia. There's a particular region in Asia that I want to talk about, but I can't because it will get demonetized by YouTube. But we can kind of hint around at it. No Sage is a weirdo. I'm gonna time you out. Quincy Jones says Black Elijah Woods. Do you know even know who what Elijah Woods looks like? You fucking retard. Time out for you because you're a fucking retard as well. 207 that means is your ID. You are scrolling, you won't see it. Huh? So I guess you're talking about the topic, but I get that. What I was saying is, I wouldn't just jump into a live stream where you can just scroll onto it. That's weird. Like I get how you can scroll into like the YouTube Shorts because with the YouTube Shorts, it's hit or miss, and it's only they're only like a minute long, so you can just be like, yeah, this is back, and keep scrolling through the YouTube Shorts. But to scroll through the live streams, that seems pointless. I don't know. Plus, I don't have that. I don't know. I don't have that feature on my YouTube. I don't know how you scroll onto live streams. But either way, I wouldn't do it anyway because I wouldn't invest time into a live stream unless I already knew the topic and the content creator. So, but a lot of people have came onto my live streams through just randomly scrolling. So that's cool, I guess. I don't know what Bob Patricia is talking about. So somebody main says that's you. I still don't get what you're saying. You're saying you can. I get it. You saying you can scroll onto live streams. People told me that before. I'm just saying like that just seems a weird feature of YouTube to invest in because live streams can be hours long. I've seen some that are like 3, 5, 7 hours long. I've gone up to like 5 hours before, not intentionally, but it just happened. But and then you have people like Kai Sanat and others who do 24-hour live streaming. Again, I'm not investing in that unless I already know the content creator or I know the topic of which the content creator is talking about. But if people, um, you know, have no problem just like jumping into a live stream just to say, hey, let me see what this is about, then that's cool. So, um, as far as people asking me questions, nobody. If your question isn't germane to my topic, drop it in a super chat or it won't get answered. I'm not taking. I don't take random questions that have nothing to do with my topic. Get to know what the topic is and ask questions germane to my topic, or I'm not going to answer them unless you put it in the super chat. I don't have time for people to waste when I'm trying to talk about something specific. So I brought up Southeast Asia because maybe a lot of people don't know what's going on in Southeast Asia, but there is a lot going on. So for one, just like you have the EU, the European Union, they have something similar in Southeast Asia amongst all these countries there called ASEAN, ASEAN, which I think stands for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So they're both a political and economic union of sorts, um, for them to work together, um, for the betterment of that region. They they have different political and economic affiliations, and one of the things that binds them is there is sort of like a mutual protection from the country that I cannot mention on here, to the C, to the H, to the I, to the N, to the A. Can't mention them. But a lot of them have banded together to deal with that country, because in the South, CHINAC, in that C, that particular country of the same name has claimed has claimed the maritime borders of all those countries in that region, claiming that they belong to that country through its imperial history, which is very dubious. And one of those countries in which I've lived, the Philippines, they've had ongoing feuds with that country over maritime uh, borders and islands in that part of the world, um, like the shoals and other parts, and have even gotten to military skirmishes with them, like their navy versus the Philippine Coast Guard. But again, that particular country has tried to claim territory in all those countries. So this is one of the reasons why they formed together the ASEAN coalition. um, and then there's a lot of other things going on in those regions as well, not just related to CHINA. Um, there's a lot of stuff that's going on as far as natural disasters. This has been um, emboldened through climate change. Um, a lot of people know of that area as the Pacific Rim of Fire. So there's more like volcanoes and earthquakes in that region of the world than anywhere else. Like when I was there, it had to been at least a few earthquakes. I didn't really feel them; they were minor ones. But when I wasn't there, they were more major ones. Um, like my wife was telling me how badly our condo shook when I wasn't there. Um, at one point, there was an active volcano that you can visit not too far from where we live, like 3 hours away. Um, so that's another thing. Then, as far as like climate change, also climate change or global warming rather is raising the sea levels. So there's like a Pacific island. There's a few Pacific islands that are actually going to be completely submerged underwater because of erosion and the rise in sea levels, which is one of the reasons why if you go to Indonesia, they're moving the capital, which is in Jakarta, over the to Java, completely on the other side of the nation, because it's a you know Indonesia is made of an archipelago of islands, and so one of the problems is Jakarta is sinking because of the global warming. So they're moving it over to Java. Plus, Java has become more heavily populated than where the capital city is located, and because that region has because the cultural things have shifted, they're gonna have more people over there, and they're gonna move the capital there. Nonsense. I'm the only one here. I don't care. That's great. I I want you people to understand this. Every time y'all say this dumb shit, well, I'm the only one here. I upload these videos so they get replayed. These broadcasts are replayed, and I get them monetized through ad revenue. So I don't care if no one is here. People are gonna watch it later. So I'm just not supposed to say anything until I see a bunch of people in the chat room. No, I don't know why you guys don't get that. But then I get it. Some of you don't know how people make money off of YouTube. But I don't know. Common sense says, hey, these live streams get recorded, so people are gonna watch them on replay. I would think that would be common sense, but common sense isn't common on social media. No, you're good, man. Or whatever. I'm just saying because I get that all the time. People will say that, and they'll try to be slick about it. They'll be like, "Oh, why are you even talking? No one's even here." I'm like, I get that, but these brought, like I say, I upload all these live streams for replay. The only one that I've eliminated was one that wasn't wasn't going to get monetized because um it wasn't the music, because before I've had ones that were partially demonetized because of the music playing in the background, and then I just trimmed the segment with the music. But I think it was because I had mentioned that country that I was saying I can't mention, the China country. Robert says, "What's up, bud? What's up, man? What's going on? Glad to see you back." But yeah, so one of the videos I had got demonetized because I talked about that the country just ruled by Winnie the Pooh, so I can't say the country. And so I deleted that video, but that was like the only that's like the only like live stream I believe that I've deleted, just because it wouldn't make sense to watch it, have people watch it on replay if it's you know not going to be monetized. The one I did actually a few days ago got partially demonetized, and I'm not even sure why, because it's not from the strong language. Because I've used strong language in almost every live stream when I'm dealing with trolls. So I don't know if I mentioned that passing country too much, even though I didn't say the word, but I probably spelled it out. So I don't even really want to spell out the name of that country. I'll have to use a nickname for that country. What about Neil deGrasse Tyson? That's something up for another day, I guess, because I don't know what that's about. But unless I was supposed to ask, unless I was supposed to remind you about that for some reason. But um, I don't think I I don't think I physically resemble Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't have the big bushy mustache, big bushy eyebrows. He tries to sound he tries too hard to sound profound, which is really annoying about him. Like Carl Sagan didn't try so hard to seem profound. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson tries too hard. I actually stopped following him because he was one of these woke scientists trying to deny the reality of biological sex and the advantages males have in sports. Like you're a whole fucking scientist. I mean, I get it. He's not a biological scientist. He's a physicist. But the fact that he would even co-sign some of that bullshit that people have been pushing in science when it's just ideology, that made me unfollow him. So I don't check out his podcast anymore called Star Talk, and I unfollowed him on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So I still respect him, but I'm not gonna listen to his ramblings because I'm like, if you're gonna put ideology over scientific fact, I don't trust your judgment anymore. Anywho, back to the subject. So again, like I said, we can talk about stuff going on in the Philippines, which is the one I'm the most well acquainted with, than all the other places in Southeast Asia. I don't think people know of all the countries in Southeast Asia, so I should probably list them off. I don't look like that dude. I really don't. I don't even like appreciating that when people keep saying I look nothing like I look nothing like Giancarlo Esposito. He is half Italian. He's 20 years my senior, and we facially have no resemblances other than we're both black. That's literally the only reason you would say that is that we're both black. Giancarlo Esposito looks nothing like me. Like I said, the dude is half Italian. He's 20 years older than me. He's a complete, a, he's like two shades lighter than me. We don't look alike. He has a mustache and curly hair. We don't look anything alike whatsoever. You're basically just saying two black people look alike because they're two black men. It's fucking stupid. And I just seduces. Hey, what's up? Um. So anyway, so like I said, I should probably list off all the different Southeast Asian countries, since I don't think. I mean, let's be honest. Most American, even Europeans, but definitely most Americans are geographically illiterate. So I should name off all the major countries in Southeast Asia. So, of course, we have the Philippines, uh, and Indonesia, and Malaysia, and Brunei, and Timor Leste. These are like considered the maritime Southeast Asian nations. And then you have the mainland Southeast Asian nations, the ones that are directly connected to the mainland of the Eurasian mainland, whereas the maritime Southeast Asian nations are within, all within the Pacific Ocean. So again, those are like Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Timor Leste, which used to be called East Timor, but once it got its independence from, I believe, Indonesia, they renamed themselves Timor Leste. Then there's Brunei, and there's Singapore, which is like a city state. It's the size. It's like a really large city, but it's also a nation as well. Um, so those are all your maritime Southeast Asian nations, and you have your mainland Southeast Asian nations like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, um, Laos, Burma, aka Myanmar, and I think that is all of them. And then there's some other countries just like geographically close to Southeast Asia, but aren't considered Southeast Asia for like cultural or political reasons, like Hong Kong, which is a semi autonomous region of that country I don't want to mention, and Taiwan, which, depending on the politics, may also belong to that other country I don't want to mention. So what's interesting about Taiwan is like it's not considered part of Southeast Asia, but the indigenous people there are Austronesian people. Like most Southeast Asian people are of the Austronesian culture and language. So there, a lot of people don't know that there are so a lot of people don't know that there are Aboriginal Taiwanese people, who look, if you saw them, you might think they're from some other part of Southeast Asia. And actually, it used to be thought that the uh, the original people who migrated to the Philippines after the arrival of the Negrito people were they originally a lot of people thought because of the linguistic resemblances to the Aboriginal Taiwanese people that they were the same people, but when they did like when they looked into it like uh, the genetic the the the, the genetic lineage of them, they weren't the same people. Red Star says, "Glad to see you fixed your volume." Yeah, that was just a temporary thing, man. But I appreciate it. Robert says one of my favorite Asian countries is Vietnam. That's what's up. I haven't been there yet. It's on my bucket list. I already have one of the Vietnamese currency. It's called a dong. Pause. And their currency, like people think living in the Philippines is cheap. Yes, it is very cheap, but nothing to do with like Vietnam. Their their banknote, the dong, is like a tenth of the worth of a US dollar. Like, actually, I think it's less than that. It's like I would say it's about a hundredth of the value of a US dollar. That's, yeah, it's crazy. But I have one of those. I keep currency wherever I travel, and I happened to get a Vietnamese banknote, the dong, when I was en route to buying an old banknote from Germany, because they no longer have the Dutch marks, the D marks. They switched over to the euro back when I first went there in the army. But at the time, the Dutch mark was still circulating in their currency. So this is back in '99. Yeah, yeah, '99, and they had already accepted the euro, but they were still circulating the Dutch mark. So I forgot to get the currency as a souvenir. So I bought one online from the year that I was there, or whereabouts. I think it was from '90. I think my Dutch mark is from '98, but I got that, and they just gave me a Vietnamese dong banknote for free. So I definitely want to go there, both to Hanoi and to Saigon, aka Ho Chi Minh City, depending on whom you talk to. That is a very touchy subject, by the way, Robert, if you go there. So it's Ho Chi Minh City, but for a lot of people who fled Vietnam as refugees in the 70s and 80s, they still refer to Ho Chi Minh City as Saigon because they reject the North Vietnamese socialists who took over the country. So if you probably talk to Vietnamese Americans, they'll probably still call it Saigon, but over there you should probably call it Ho Chi Minh City. But it's probably going to depend on the people's political affiliations. I, for my part, do not try to get into any sort of any sort of political entanglements with locals. Whatever they believe, I just take it on. I just take that as what what whatever their beliefs are. Like when I was in Thailand, uh, the the king had just died, and his I think eldest son was taking the throne. And so, I just mentioned, I was like, oh, this is, really nice, this stuff you guys are doing for the king. And I think it was either my tuk-tuk driver or my or my Uber driver, I can't remember which. And he was talking like he could tell he loved the king. So I didn't make any knocks against the king. He was just like, yeah, we are very proud of our king or whatever. I'm like, cool, because I'm not gonna. I, if there's one travel tip I would give people, never knock someone's political leaders in their country. Don't do that. Don't get into any political disputes with people. Recently, some passport bros in Colombia, well, one guy, he's kind of stupid from what I gather, was talking about, hey guys, he said when you with Colombian women, he said don't ever talk politics. He said because some of those women in Colombia are actually Venezuelan, and he said he mentioned something about Venezuela being a shithole to this woman, thinking she was Colombian and she was actually Venezuelan. And so he pissed off the woman because she's actually Venezuelan. So she was like, don't be talking about my country, blah, blah, blah. And, so I'm reading his post and I'm like, dude, why are you discussing politics with locals anyway? And, most people was like, yeah, exactly. That was stupid. So never diss anyone's political leader in their country, and just overall don't discuss politics, local politics in someone's country. That would be my tip for the day. Um, Barbara says, I know it sounds gross, but I love to go over there and try fertilized duck egg. A lot of tourists do. I'm not, because for one, I don't even eat eggs here. So that's one reason I wouldn't try it. But also, I'm just not into it. I've seen what they look like and smell like. I'm not eating them because they're famous all over Southeast Asia. So they eat them in Vietnam, they eat them in Cambodia, they eat them in Laos, that they eat them in parts of southern China. Okay, because southern China culturally is more akin to Southeast Asia than it is to the northern provinces of the country. I, I'm mad that I mentioned use the word for the country because I'm trying not to. But anyway, and then of course they eat them in the Philippines as well. Um, I'm not eating. I'm glad my wife doesn't like them because she probably would ask me to try it. But neither her nor my ex that I dated before I got with her were into the fertilized duck eggs. But if you want to try it, go ahead. I'm not gonna knock anyone. Like, taste is subjective. So if you feel brave enough to eat it, go ahead. Like, just like when I was in Thailand and I'm on Khao San Road. On Khao San Road, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff that you can eat, like scorpions and chocolate covered bugs. I wasn't eating any of that shit. I wasn't eating the scorpions. I wasn't eating any uh, chocolate covered bugs. I kept it very basic and just ate some pad thai. Pad thai is delicious. The funny thing is, whenever you eat a certain food in the part of the world from where it originates, it kind of makes it less enjoyable here. So eating pad thai in Thailand, maybe not enjoyed as much here, even though I've been to good Thai restaurants, but I prefer it now there. I'm pretty sure that same thing is going to happen in Vietnam if I go to Vietnam and I try pho. Like, I'm used to eating pho here, but I'm pretty sure the pho is going to be phenomenally better in Vietnam, right? Or so when I've been eating ramen since I was a little kid because we used to just call it oodles or noodles as kids. But I actually went to an actual ramen restaurant when I was in Tokyo, and it was phenomenal. Like, it made ramen here just seem like shit. Like, I had some tonkatsu ramen, which is really good. Tonkatsu is pork, like pork bone flavored ramen, whatever. It was awesome. Um, Even the ramen in the Philippines was better than here. Now, I've seen some shops here. That I've seen some ramen restaurants here in America, and they're probably good. But I haven't been there because it's just like, well, when you eat it overseas, it's like it just raises your standards. So, just a dude says you lived in the Philippines or you just visiting there. No, I live there. And I'll be possibly going back. Don't want to put too much, here on my live streams because I believe in operational security and I have a tendency to overshare information. So I'm not going to put when and where I'll be going to places until after I'm there. Uh, but yeah, I've lived there and may be returning soon. Or if I'm not returning there, I will be returning to Southeast Asia. I'll put it that way. People can see some of my videos of me in the Philippines on my here on my channel. You'll see videos of me here in the Philippines and in other parts of Southeast Asia, like in Bali and Thailand. Uh, I don't think I have one of me up in Taiwan. Wait, well, I might have some pictures on my. I might have some pictures in my community tabs of me in Taiwan, but I don't have any videos of me up there. No, no, no. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. When I was in the underground mall in Taipei, there's an underground mall in Taipei which is connected through their transit system. And so I think I did have a video of there because I was there and there was some random people practicing dancing. So I filmed that while I was in the underground mall. So I did get video of that. But when I was traveling at that time, I didn't have a YouTube channel. So it didn't occur to me to kind of record all the things that I was witnessing at the time. So now that I'm a content creator, I'm going to be more conscious about putting making sure I record all these sorts of things that I see. Then I have a few snippets of me in Tokyo, but again, that was before I was a content creator, so I don't have much. I put up like a thing of these guys uh, doing a cipher. Yes, people, a lot of guys in Japan like to rap. So it was some guys just freestyle rapping and some little cipher when I was down in Shibuya. Um, did I have any other video? Oh, and I may have had a video of me in the famous Shibuya street crossing. Like that's like one of the most go to places in Tokyo is the Shibuya road crossing. Like everyone goes there and takes a picture of it. It's the busiest intersection in the world, the Shibuya intersection. This is Shibuya crossing. It's the busiest intersection in the world because Tokyo is the biggest city in the world. Shibuya is sort of like the how would I see it? Shibuya is sort of like a cross between um, Midtown Manhattan and Brooklyn for people who are aware, like familiar with New York City. Maybe for the West Coast, I should say like Rodeo Drive in LA. I don't know. Not really the same because that's not as busy as it can be in like New York, particularly in Manhattan. But it Tokyo is definitely was on my bucket list. I have to go back. I've been there a few times. I need to go back where I want to stay for like this time. I just want to stay for the whole month. Go to Disney Japan. Yeah, the Disney Japan. Um, check out other parts of Tokyo that I didn't go to, like Roppongi, Kabukicho, Shinjuku, which is very like Shibuya with like culturally like a bunch of foreigners and other folks who intermingle with the locals. It's very friendly. Um, not to mention maybe going to other parts of Japan like Osaka. And right before the pandemic in Japan, unfortunately, this got shut down because of the pandemic. But right before the pandemic, Japan was doing a special for people coming to visit Japan that if they wanted to visit other places in Japan outside of Tokyo and Osaka, which are the two most heavily populated and visited parts of the country, they wanted to go to other regions in the country. They could ride. I think they were given either free flights or heavily discounted flights to any part of the country. So if you want to go to say like the Iga mountain provinces where supposedly that was the origin of the ninjas, there's a ninja museum in the Iga prefecture. Um, and there's places in the rural parts of Japan where they're selling homes very cheaply, and even foreigners can buy them. Foreigners can buy these homes. So if you've ever had if you have the luxury of living overseas and you have a little bit of money, and you always said, "Man, I would sure love to live in Japan." Like, hey, you should look into it because like like some of these inner cities here in America are like have these programs where they're selling houses for $1 and you just fix them up and all that sort of stuff. So they have a sort of similar situation over there in Japan because the countryside is dying because most of the young people are moving to Tokyo or Osaka for work, and to bring people back into the countryside of Japan, they're trying to you know coax them by offering very cheap housing and free flights for tourists to these parts of the world to that I mean to that parts of the country. Robert kind of says no, he's American. Yeah, yeah. I think he was just asking me have I lived there. I don't think he thought I was Filipino. I don't think there are Filipinos who are my complexion though. Again, the indigenous people of the Philippines are called Negritos, and they're not just in the Philippines; they're throughout Southeast Asia. So here's another fact that you guys may not, another geopolitical fact that you guys may not know about Southeast Asia. The earliest people to arrive in Southeast Asia were black people. They called them Negritos, literally like little black people, because they were small. They were smaller, diminutive people who, as far as I can track, made their way to Southeast Asia and then on to the Pacific Islands um, by way of a navigation coming through East Africa and down through, down through like um, um, like either the Middle East and India or Madagascar, and either you know took boats or walked across, because there used to be a land bridge that connected the Southeast Asian countries to the mainland during the ice ages, when obviously the sea levels were much lower. Just like just like in North America, there was the Bering Land Bridge that connected Alaska to Russia during the Ice Age. There was also a land bridge that connected the mainland of Eurasia to the Southeast Asian countries by way of Indonesia, connecting to, like, I believe, like parts of maybe India or whatever. So all of that, there was like a land bridge, and even where it was water, they would have just had vessels to easily um, make it to these nearby countries. And another thing is that these early in Southeast Asia, before they were colonized by European nations, most of Malaysia, Indonesia, and parts of the Philippines were considered part of the Hindu empire of India in earlier times. Like, you can still see relics in temples um, from the time when they were ruled by Hindu kings back in the early periods of Southeast Asia. Like, even in the Philippines, which is a very heavily Catholic country, you can go to um, different provinces in the Philippines, and you'll see like um, some relics of Hindu temples and stuff like that. Same thing in Indonesia. I mean, look at Bali. Bali is um, is an island province of Indonesia. It's Hindu. Like, Indonesia is a Muslim country, and it's actually the largest Muslim nation per capita in the world, right there in Southeast Asia. But the part of it that's Bali is pretty much predominantly Hindu. So this is why culturally it's a little bit distinct from the rest of Indonesia, which is mostly Muslim, and it goes back to its roots. Like I said, most of Southeast Asia, the maritime parts of Southeast Asia, I mean, were at one point part of the Hindu kingdoms. When Here's another tidbit, like, so most people I think know this from American history, but like when Christopher Columbus sailed in 14 Asia to the Spice Islands, which is modern day Indonesia, when he arrived in the West Indies in the Caribbean, he thought he made it to the Spice Islands, which is why he called those people Indians, because he thought these were part. He thought he made it to the East Indies, which is that those all those islands connecting both culturally and politically to the Hindu empires of the time. So, but he was obviously wrong. What's weird is that he died still believing that he had made it to the Spice Islands because of the similarity of the people to the people in Indonesia, despite the fact that there were other explorers that came along and discovered the coast of North America, like Americo Vespucci, which is why America is named America and not named Colombia, which would make more sense, because Americo Vespucci was actually the first person to hit the North American coast, not not Columbus. But again, Columbus thought he made it to Indonesia, to the Spice Islands, which is why he misnamed the Native American people Indians. So whatever. What's up, Crispy? He says hello, sir. Just Do says it's always best to believe in other countries. Oh, behave in other countries. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm watching on Tubi, and I know Tubi is like the low budget streaming service, but there's a docu series about people wilding out in Bangkok, and I didn't know there's a whole. I didn't notice them when I was there. They were probably around, but I didn't notice them. But in Bangkok, there's a tourist police there. Like there's a part of their police force that are out there just to keep the peace with the tourists in like Bangkok, and I think also in Pattaya as well. But like I said, I've never noticed them because when I was there, people were drunk and stuff, but everyone's having fun. I didn't really see people like bugging out and doing anything messed up while at least while I was where I was with my wife. Besides, if I saw people like doing something crazy, I would have avoided it anyway because I was on a honeymoon with my wife, so I wouldn't have had her somewhere dangerous or anything like that. But Khao San Road is typically pretty wild. It's a red light district in Bangkok, so some wild stuff goes on. One of my moderators um, lives currently in Thailand. He was telling me that parts of Khao San are really creepy because there's an underground to the Khao San Road where a lot of weird stuff goes on. And I told him, I was like, well, I didn't even know about it because I didn't like visit that part of Khao San Road. I was just out there, checking out the nightlife, having fun, shopping, stuff like that. Um, Just Do says, I've heard having tattoos makes getting around in Japan a little tricky sometimes to know if that is true. Okay, so here's the truth about that, Just to Do. So the stigma around tattoos is fading, but it's still very strong. Like there's still places that don't allow folks to have tattoos in their establishments, like in stores and restaurants. But here's the caveat. Typically that's mostly for other Japanese. They most of the time won't tell foreign most of the time they won't look down on foreigners who have tattoos because they know that our culture doesn't have a stigma against tattoos like theirs does. But for them, in a lot of establishments, even now, it is changing because more younger people have tattoos, and there are great tattoo artists in Japan. One of my friends got a tattoo while he was there. Um, but yes, tattoo artists look down upon there because for them it was a symbol of being an organized crime because of the yakuza and the yakuza and other like criminal gangs in Japan tended to be heavily inked. So um, being tattooed was always thought of as part of criminal criminal behavior, getting tattoos. So if you're a foreigner and you have a tattoo, you're probably more than likely you're going to be fine. Like unless you're going somewhere like maybe a temple or something, then you might want to cover it up. Like if you're going to like a very formal sort of place, or maybe if you're visiting like a Shinto temple or a Buddhist temple, maybe cover that up. But for the most part, they don't really bother foreigners about tattoos, but they will look down upon other Japanese who have tattoos because it's still seen as a sign of someone who's a criminal over there. Sort of like so it would be sort of like when you see people walk into stores and they have ski masks on. Like maybe they're just doing it because it's the winter, or some kids, last year and a few years ago were doing it just because it was trendy because they're idiots. So you had some people walking around, walking into stores and 7-Eleven, convenience stores, stuff like that with ski masks on or with the neck gaiters, with it covering their mouth, and they look like they're about to rob the store. So it, the way we look at people who would come into a store with a ski mask on or a neck gaiter covering their mouth and nose is the same way they would look at like a local there, like walking around with a bunch of tattoos all over their arms and chest and back. That's if that makes sense. But if you're a foreigner, they're really not gonna bother you about your tattoos because they know our culture doesn't have the same stigma against it that they have, because for them it's associated with Japanese criminal history. Uh, Robert says, I would love to go to Bunny Island myself. Well, with wow, wait, which country is Bunny Island, Robert? I forgot which. which country has the bunny island. So I know in the Thailand they had the monkey island. When we went to Pattaya, we missed our boat. We got there probably like 10 minutes before the ship sailed, so we had to stay in Pattaya. But we wanted to go to Monkey Island. Luckily, we got to see the monkeys in Bali, but those monkeys were bad as shit. Like they were stealing. Like they told us like, hey, put everything in your bags. Try to avoid having anything shiny because they think they think it's food or fruit or something like that. Don't walk around with anything in your hand because they'll try to grab it. And it's true, like they try to they try to take my wife's they try to steal my wife's uh backpack. Well, it was like her little knapsack, the little like the little sports knapsack, and she just had the straps across. And they tried to the monkey tried to take it from her. These were some badass monkeys. And she sit there struggling. I was like, baby, I was like, so I grabbed the knapsack and I was like, baby, just let it go. I said, don't try to fight the monkey over the knapsack. I said, just let it go. And so she let it go and the monkey took it off her back. But I held, I was holding the strap in my hand and he was trying to pull it from me. And he must have realized, yeah, I'm like 10 times stronger than he is because he just looked up at me and kept trying to pull a knapsack from me. And I was like, you're not getting it from me, buddy. You not get this. You not get this back from me, little buddy. Then my mom was with us too. By the way, my mom came with us, and they tried to steal her little backpack, and she had a tissue in her hand, and the monkey stole the tissue out of her hand. And my mother, she was mad. She was like, "All right, I'm ready to leave, guys." She's like, "You guys can stay if you want. I'm getting out of here." But not all the monkeys were bad, but a lot of them were bad. One of them was fighting some guy there. And the funny thing is, even though it was a monkey sanctuary, they weren't limited to that little sanctuary. Like they could, the where the sanctuary is called Monkey Street. This is in Ubud, Bali, Ubud, Ubud. So you can go to if you go to Ubud, Bali, you can go to the monkey sanctuary, and there's a whole monkey street with these little macaque monkeys. So they frequent up and down that entire street. They're not just limited to that sanctuary. So when we were leaving the sanctuary, this woman was outside the sanctuary, and the monkey ran out of the sanctuary and was trying to take something from her. And she was screaming. I just started laughing. I'm like, God damn, these monkeys are bad. And then when we left, so we walked away from the sanctuary. We're still on Monkey Street, like we're a ways down. And so we started taking the stuff out of our book bags. And this local woman, she was like, "Hey guys," she's like, "Don't take that stuff out of your backpack." She's like, "The monkeys see you, they coming." I'm like, "Wait, what?" I said, "The monkeys are coming." like, I'm like, these God damn. I was like, "What are they, terrorists?" Like, no, but they were literally like, so they were up on the telephone poles looking down at us, looking at what we were doing. About they were about ready to, they were about to squat up on us. Like the monkeys came out of the sanctuary, was looking down off like the little telephone pole or whatever, seeing us pull stuff out of our bags, and they was about to squat up on us. So we put everything back in our backpack and walked away. I was like, damn, these monkeys are bad. it, it was funny though. I didn't get mad. It was funny, and they had some great art in the monkey sanctuary that they sell to people. I wish I could show it to you guys here. I said that I would like to go back and actually buy some of those paintings because they're actually by local artists. Because I thought it was just for, because it was sort of like a museum display there, but almost all of the art that they were displaying was for sale. So I told my wife when we go back, I want to buy one of those paintings. Really nice stuff. I took pictures of them, but I would like to actually have one of those paintings there. But again, it's like Hindu culture in Bali. Um, and like I said, we went there because my wife and I had missed go, going to Monkey Island um, when we were in Thailand. We did go to an animal safari though in Thailand, which was really cool. We it's like an animal safari in Bangkok, as a matter of fact. Like or I should say like right outside of Bangkok. There's this animal safari, which was really nice. But like I said, we got you got to actually interact with the monkeys in the monkey sanctuary in Bali, and we went to a elephant sanctuary too. not in an Uber, in a place not too far from it though. And we actually got to ride the elephants. There was another part where you could ride the elephant and actually be on the elephant's back as it goes into the water. I was like, nah, I'm not doing all that. But all three of us rode, like it was my wife, me, and my mom. We all, rode on the rode the elephants. So that was really fun. So this time I do want to go back to Thailand. I want to see how their elephants there, and go back to Monkey Island, and some of the do some other island hopping in Thailand. And I want to do some island hopping in Indonesia this time too, because from Bali you can island hop to nearby places in Indonesia. Sorry, I'm supposed to be talking politics, and instead I'm sounding like a tour. I'm sounding like a like a travel agent. I'm not. I didn't mean this discussion to sound like I'm being your travel agent. I'm actually here to discuss a lot of the problems going on in Southeast Asia. Uh, Robert says I as well as get a traditional Japanese tattoo, but obviously a very small one. Ouch. Actually, I don't. My friend said they weren't painful. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. He was talking about the tattoo he got in in Thailand. He got one of the traditional sakyant tattoos. A sakyant tattoo is a tattoo that's given to you by a Buddhist monk, and it's blessed before they bless you and hold like a little ritual before they put the tattoo on you. It's called a sakyant tattoo. So if you ever seen people with those little tattoos, especially like like Thai boxers and or people who are tattoo tattoo tourists, you might see. I think Angelina Jolie has a sakyant tattoo on her back, but a lot of tattoo tourists tend to go to Thailand to get a sakyant tattoo because, like I said, it's an actual blessing you receive as part of getting that tattoo. I don't have any tattoos, but I said if I ever did get one, that would be the one I would get since it's actually like something that's like meaningful, and you don't pick the tattoo. The priest picks it for you. What you do, you tell them, what reason you have. Say, hey, I want it for protection, or I want it for good luck, or hey, I wanted it to bring me good, money or love or whatever. And they, based on that, they'll give you a tattoo. They only do it above the waist. Um, for in Thai culture, it's kind of taboo to do things below the waist, which like you see that in all that culture. Like even like in Muay Thai, like when you enter a Muay Thai ring, you have to enter it above. Um, when you enter, you go above the the whatchamacallums. When you enter the ring, you don't duck under the whatchamacallit. When you enter the ring, you go above them, or you have the head dressing and all that sort of stuff. The head dressing that they called a monk con is never supposed to touch the floor. Like when it's not being worn on your head, it has to be just put like placed on like a maybe either on the wall or like a tall dresser or something like that. But it's not supposed to ever touch the floor. Like there's a lot of stigma against things being on the ground and stuff like that. And also like with tattoos, they won't. So if you ask them, can you tattoo something on your leg or something, then they're not going to do that. Now a regular tattoo artist in Thailand will, but the monks won't, because the monks actually give you the tattoo. They give you the blessing and they do the tattoo for you. This is why a lot of people like getting it, because it feels spiritually significant, especially say if you're Buddhist. So they will give you the blessing, give you the tattoo, and then after they give you the tattoo, they're gonna prescribe certain things that you should or should not do now that you receive the tattoo to make sure that the magic of that tattoo works. Like they'll say, hey, don't eat pork, or um, you shouldn't have sex for the next 30 days, or something like that. Don't drink for the next 30 days. Some they'll give you like a list of instructions to do with the tattoo. Now, as far as tattoo art in Japan, I'm not familiar. As I don't, I don't think they do any sacred tattoos in Japan since again tattoo culture is considered taboo there. But there are many prominent tattoo artists in Japan. Um, as far as I know, they're not any more painful than the ones they do here. And like I said, as far as the blessed tattoos in Thailand, they do it the old school way with the little pick, like they take the old fashioned like wooden needle thing and just go that way. My friend said it actually wasn't painful. I don't know whether to believe him or not because he has a bunch of tattoos on his body, so he might be numb to that sort of pain. Other people may not. As far as any other tattoo, it depends on the body region where it gets placed. Because most people told me like when they got their tattoo, it just felt like getting a really. They said it felt like getting a a shape up. They said it felt like getting like a shape up with someone who does it really hard. Like for anyone who's went to a black or Dominican barbershop and got a shape up, and the barber kind of dug into it a little bit to make sure it lined up really nicely. People told me that's the extent of pain for most tattoos. So I don't know if I've never heard that it was more painful in Japan. Robert says, and I would also like to see. I believe it's called the nuclear peace flame. I haven't heard of that. Um, I don't know what Brandon is doing with the avocado. I don't know if that's supposed to be something racist or something like that. If it's supposed to be an insult, you kind of failed there because I insults only work if people understand the insult, right? Um, oh, Hater MMA says, "What's up?" No Diddy. I'm just gonna go ahead and time this guy out because obviously he's trying to do something insulting with the avocados. I don't get it, but he's. I'm just gonna ban him. Uh, oh, Hater, do you actually practice MMA? By the way, I think I asked you that before. Um, Crispy says hello, sir. Yeah, we already spoke, I believe, Crispy. Or maybe you didn't hear me earlier when I said what's up to you, but if not, I'm saying it again. Press places. Would you ever live in Thailand permanently? I've been watching a lot of content from expats living in Thailand or raving how good life is there. So first, all right. So I'm gonna give a shout out. He doesn't know I exist, of course, but I don't care. I'm gonna give a shout out to Richie Mack. He has a great YouTube channel called Zoom to Thailand. Guys, check it out. Like his the quality of the production on his channel is like actually watching something on TV. And I'm not capping here. Like high quality content. And he's a former like he's a minor. He used to be a minor celebrity here in America back in like I guess the 80s and 90s. So he has a connection with a lot of big people in Hollywood. So you'll see celebrities on his channel. But he lives in Thailand with his Thai wifey, who she has her own channel now too that he made for her. Um, very pretty woman. Be respectful, but very pretty woman. Um, Richie Mack is cool as I don't know what. He's like Richie Mack is like the fun uncle, right? I know I'm on unc status too because of my age, but he's older than me. So for me, he would be my uncle. Like he's in clearly in his 50s. I think early 50s maybe. But he's sort of like on unc status, big brother status, whatever. For me, maybe big brother, unc. But definitely for you guys, he's definitely on that uncle status. Really cool, high production. If there is someone to convince you to live in Thailand, it would be him. As far as would I live there? Yeah, absolutely. I like the Philippines better though, but Thailand comes a close second. The only reason because he actually done a video as like Thailand versus Philippines, which is better. I think so. I think as an expat, you're good in either place. For me though, I give the Philippines a slight advantage because one, English is one of the national languages of the Philippines for people who don't know that. So the Filipino language, which is based on Tagalog, but it's not pure Tagalog. Pure Tagalog is only speaking in a specific region of of the biggest island there, Luzon. Luzon is where you find a lot like Metro Manila and many of the many of the most populated parts of the country, outside of Cebu and Davao. Cebu being in the Visayas and Davao being in Mindanao. But so the national language is both Filipino and English. So that's one advantage. Is again, most people speak some level of English, especially if you live in a city. Like if you live in Metro Cebu or if you live in Metro Manila, as opposed to living somewhere in a province, which I don't know why some expats move. Some white expats like moving into the provinces because they think the women there are more pure, which is just weird and is false, by the way. But that that can be answered later if people have specific questions to me about the Philippines. But um, like I said, I only choose the Philippines over Thailand. One, because again, English is one of the national languages. Uh, the cost of living is slightly cheaper than Thailand. They're almost equal, but but the Philippines is slightly the cost of living is slightly cheaper than Thailand. Also, for a lot of most Americans are Christians, right? So most Americans may prefer culturally the Philippines over Thailand because Thailand is culturally Buddhist, where Thailand is culturally Christian Catholic. Um, so I mean, just so we're in Christmas season, right? Over there, Christmas season starts in September, guys. They call it the Burr months. So from September, October, November, December, up until New Year's, this is the Burr months is Christmas season. So you may see people putting up Christmas trees as early as October over there, right? So, if so, also if you're a Christian or you're a Christian oriented type sort of person, you might prefer the Philippines as well. I'm not religious myself, but I do celebrate Christmas, so I enjoy it. They do, so, some people do celebrate Christmas in Thailand as well, but again, it's not a cultural thing there as it is in the Philippines. So that's the third thing. Um, four, um, four, I would say is that we have the America has and the Philippines have a strong cultural connection. Um, so that's the other thing. But like I said, if someone decided to expatriate to Thailand as opposed to the Philippines, you're still gonna have a lot of fun and live a good life because it's still very low cost of living, similar to the Philippines. Um, it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be harder maybe to speak English with locals. Like usually the younger folks speak some level of English in Thailand, but it's not as is you're gonna have there's gonna be a more of a language barrier in Thailand as opposed to the Philippines. So for me, that's the biggest thing, the barrier, the language barrier. And it seems I don't know. For me, maybe this is subjective. It seems hotter in Bangkok than it is in Manila, and it probably is because I think Bangkok is south of Manila. Um, but there are northern parts of Thailand that may be not as hot all as it is in Bangkok. But yeah, I would definitely consider living in Thailand, specifically Bangkok. I wouldn't live in Pattaya because Pattaya is mostly known for being a place for sex tourism. So I wouldn't live there. Phuket is sort of like eh, Phuket is like an island province. it's sort of like Pattaya, and but sort of have its own unique thing going on. So it's not known just for like being a red light district like Pattaya is. Like Pattaya has Walking Street, which is the red light district, but the thing about Pattaya is everyone's pay for play in Pattaya. Everyone, like I shouldn't say everyone, generally everyone is. So you don't even have to be on Walking Street to come up against women or lady boys if that's your preference, who are paid for play. Whereas in Bangkok, they have, there's like one or two red light districts, but that's not the entire city because it's the capital of the country. So they're known for more than just people who are coming there just for some pay for play fun. Bangkok is a lot more things to do than Pattaya. Phuket also is great because they have one of the most world renowned Muay Thai gyms in the country there. The Tiger Muay Thai gym, I think, is probably the most prominent one in the country. It's not the only good one though, but I think as far as reputation, Tiger Muay Thai gym in Phuket is probably the biggest one. So that would be another reason I could possibly like stand in Thailand's unlimited Muay Thai, unlimited Muay Thai practice. Um, so yeah, I could definitely see living there. At least in Bangkok. Bangkok is really nice. It's and it has similar vibes to living in Manila, actually. But I said like the only difference is culturally they're Buddhists and they speak less English. So for me, that was sort of like the reasons why I would prefer the Philippines because easy to talk with. There's less of a language barrier. Just says the monkeys are coming. Yeah, I'm not lying. That's literally what the lady said. She was like, guys, you should put your stuff in your back in your bag because the monkeys are coming. And she was right because I looked up and I was looking at the telephone poles, and it was these monkeys that spying us from atop the poles, looking at what we were doing. I'm like, these little bastards. I was like, all right. So we rushed and put everything back in our bags and just like kind of double timed and you know got out of Dodge real quickly before they started harassing us because outside the sanctuary we don't have the people working there to protect us. So snapshot Sniper says, "What's up, dude? What's going on?" Crispy says, "How was your day?" It was okay. I had a nice run earlier. It felt really warm um, here on the East Coast today. It was in the 60s, so it was really warm. I had to crack open my window and all of that. Just Dude says I got a bunch of tattoos. He said probably depends on the location. Some tattoos hurt, some you barely notice. Yeah. So like I said, you're a foreigner. If you want to go to Japan with tattoos, you're fine. Like they know you're a foreigner. Um, as far as the pain, yeah, I mean, there's places that are more painful than others. Like obviously, the places where you can get it where it won't be very painful would be like um, generally like your upper arm, your forearm, um, your calf muscle. Those are probably the least painful places to get them, and they're probably ironically the most manly places to get them are typically the most painless places to get them as well, which is like your upper arm or forearm. Calf muscle, yeah, yeah. I don't really see a point for calf muscle because you'll probably unless you live somewhere hot, you'll probably rarely show it. And then if you do have it, then you're gonna have to be someone who always wears shorts. So I'm not a person who wants to wear shorts. Like now that I'm older, I'm more I don't really like wearing shorts as much anymore. Like I'll still wear like cargo shorts occasionally, but other than that, I don't wear shorts except when I'm working out. Like that's the only time I'll be in shorts is when I'm working out. But so the best places for me to get a tattoo, if I ever decide to get one, will be on my upper arm or forearm. Press play says thank you. Oh, you're welcome. But again, guys, I don't want to sound like a travel agent. Um, what do do you guys have any like specific like questions about Southeast Asia as far like I said, politically, there's a lot going on. Like people might have remembered the whole war on drugs that happened in the Philippines with the former president Rodrigo Duterte, and at the time, I was against what he was doing. But then when I went there and I saw how drugs was affecting the country, I was like, okay, I get it now. I get why he's being so tough on this. Not saying that I agree with everything that he did, but I get it. And by the way, I'm not going to drag anyone politically in the Philippines because since I'm planning on going there, I'm not going to badmouth a country I plan on revisiting and or staying permanently. So definitely not going to drag them. But it became very contentious. His war on drugs, and Obama was talking about Rodrigo's drug war and all this sort of stuff. And he had a lot of nerve to be talking about. I look back at it now, and Obama had a lot of nerve to be um, criticizing Rodrigo Duterte's drug war when he was doing his secret drone war in parts of the Middle East, like the Sudan and Yemen and Syria and Afghanistan. Like he had a secret drone war he was waging at the time, and but had the nerve to be criticizing Rodrigo Duterte on his drug war. And it was a huge problem there because there is a problem with meth use there, guys. So there's a meth they call shabu shabu, which is actually based on a type of food there, like hot when just like in Korea and China and like Vietnam, they do the hot pot cooking. They had that in the Philippines too, but they call it shabu. And the so the drug was nicknamed after shabu shabu. It's meth mixed with caffeine. I'm like, oh my god, why the hell would you mix meth with caffeine? And I don't think it's like crystallized caffeine. I think they actually mixed the meth with like coffee or something, which is either way. I just know it's crazy, and that became a serious problem in the Philippines, as well as other drugs like heroin and stuff like that. So Duterte was within his rights to try to stamp down on this problem, because drugs and poverty go hand in hand. There's a lot of poverty in the Philippines, so a lot of people see it as a come up, maybe dealing drugs or stemming their problems by medicating on drugs. So just just do this. Have you seen all that stuff with Johnny Somali in Korea? I've seen a little bit. I knew more about what he was doing in Japan, and then after he got kicked out of Japan, he started doing the same bullshit in South Korea. And South Korea has now gotten rid of him. He's going to be just unwanted throughout East Asia because first of all, and I keep trying to tell Asians this, I'll be like, he's not black. We don't claim him. He's I was like, he's a fucking Somalian. He's a tether. This is what black people um, black people call like um, African and Caribbean immigrants who denigrate black people. Like I haven't heard Johnny Somali say anything about black people, but the fact that when he fucks up overseas in East Asia, he tries to pretend like they're just being racist towards him because he's black. I'm like, dude, you're not black. You're not black. Like you have brown skin, but anyone can tell that you're not a black American. Black people are specifically black Americans. I'm sorry. I'm gonna gatekeep the lineage here. And he was doing that stuff in Japan until he got kicked out. Like he was harassing people in the trains, going up yelling at people, stuff like that. It's gotten so bad actually in Japan, just to do that. They now have signs up telling people not to be dancing, you know, in on city streets, not to harass people and stuff like that because of all these little prank influencers. And I'm gonna partly blame this on the social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Stop letting stop monetizing these people's content, and they won't make it anymore. If people can monetize content where they're harassing people, pranking people, being public nuisances by like dancing on the street during traffic and stuff like that, they're going to keep doing it. But if you demonetize what they do, or even take them off your platform, so they had to run to Rumble, which Rumble is the social media platform for all the content creator rejects who get kicked off of every other platform. People like Fresh and Fit and Kiko, like these misfits have been kicked off of every social media platform. So the only place they can make money now is on Rumble. But yeah, if you kick these people off your sites or you demonetize them, they'll stop making this stuff. Because like I said, now you can go to Tokyo now, and there are signs up with people who are either drawn to look like black people or drawn to look like monkeys. And I'm not even joking. Like, look, Japanese people are very polite, but what they say and what they think are two different things, and their signs tell you what they actually think of these people. So they've drawn signs of people harassing local Japanese people, and they've drawn them to look like monkeys. And even though I'm black, I'm not mad at it, because like you can't reinforce negative stereotypes and then be mad if people draw racist inferences from it. Like, don't like if you perpetuate a negative stereotype and you're part of this ethnic group, you can't get mad that people will draw racist inferences from it. So there are like these little signs up around like places in Tokyo now where they would say, you know, don't dance on the city streets, don't harass people, you know, don't don't talk loudly and stuff on the trains and all that sort of stuff, like all the stuff that people know not to do when you're there. But because you have these prank influencers like Johnny Somali and others, it's become an issue. So now it's going to make it look bad for other black people who want to go to the country, because they're not going to realize, well, hey, Johnny Somali isn't really a black person. Okay, and actually, I'm gonna go a step further. People can get mad at me. I don't care. We can have that conversation. But most of the so-called black people in Japan that've been acting that's been acting a fool, like Johnny Somali, they aren't black Americans. They are people from the Caribbean and Africa acting stupid like that. I'm just gonna put it there. Those people aren't black Americans are known already know that they have a certain stigma associated with them. So we tend to, when we're overseas, we tend to be on our best behavior, except for the idiots that go to like Colombia and Dominican Republic. But that's a subject for another day, because we're talking about Asia. Now there's a class of black people who go to Colombia and the DR, and these are the type of dudes that travel on their 2 week vacation, or on the weekends. So these are more of traveling pookies, to for lack of a better word. These are traveling pookies. Whereas people who go to like far to the far east are people who actually have money and can travel long term. These these sort of black Americans who go to these places tend to be of a higher social class. They know how to act. Um, but like I said, a lot of people I've noticed acting a fool in Japan and South Korea. These tend to be like um, Caribbean and African people. They're not black people. And like I said, Johnny Somali's he's lucky he's in. See, he gets away with that because he knows that people in South Korea and Japan have a certain decorum about them. They won't take it there. What's going to happen? I suspect he's going to try to do this shit in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asians are some of the friendliest people in the world, but at the same time, they don't have such a formal stigma of showing displays of outrage and violence that they do in South Korea and Japan. You you try that shit in Thailand, you might get cut. You might get cut. So hope like he's gonna probably, like I said, he's probably gonna go to another East Asian country and act a fool. Like I said, he's probably not stupid enough to do that in China. I need to stop using that word, but I think he's not stupid enough to try that there, because if he goes to mainland China and tries to act a fool, they will lock him up. They don't care about they first of all, the USA has no extradition treaty with them. Two, that country does not care about your civil civil rights or even human rights. I mean, yeah, I dare him. I dare him to go to um to China and act a fool the way he did in South Korea and Japan and see what happened. I dare him to do it. Dare him. It won't go well. And like I said, if he decides to go to Southeast Asia and act a fool, like I said, the Philippines is known for having the friendliest people in the world. But at the same time, there are people who will cut you. This is the land where the butterfly knife has come from, the balisong knife. Like before, Puerto Ricans were known for cutting you in New York City. It used to be it used to be in New York City that people were scared of Filipinos with the knives in New York City in like the 50s and 60s. I can't talk about it just due because, like I said, I can't mention that country here in with political discussions because YouTube doesn't like it. Um, as far as conflict, we're already in conflict with them. There's already a cold war between us. If you mean like actual like military entanglements, it's possible. It's very possible, especially if they ever launch their intended invasion of Taiwan. If they've been planning that invasion for a while, if they ever do that, it will lead to a military escalation. But I can't really get into it too much. That's like I said, when I say I want to do this geopolitical discussion, that country is the only that country is the only place that's off the table for discussion because YouTube does not will demonetize people who says anything derogatory about them. I've already had to delete one live stream because I said something about them and found that it was that video was demonetized. Lamia says hi. What's up, Lamia? Lamia, I was trying to ask you before when you were here. Are you of Philippine descent? Because I wasn't familiar with because I was asking because I actually had my wife on the I don't know if you remember my wife was on the live stream with me and I was asking her has she ever heard of that name before. She said no. So I was like that doesn't sound like I've never seen it before. Um, but um, but you said you're not Filipino. Okay. Um, but yeah, guys. So like I said, that was one controversy. Like I said, in the Philippines was the war on drugs during Duterte's era. And so another thing people don't know. So they only have one term presidencies there. They don't. You can't. You presidents don't get two terms over there. But the difference is their one term is 6 years as opposed to 4 years. So they get one term for 6 years. Okay. So the current president, Bong Bong Marcos, is actually the son of the former dictator from the 70s. Yes. He held. I believe he kept it was a 10. I think a 20. Let me see. If I remember correctly, it was a 20-year dictatorship that his father had over the country. until they ran him out of the country, and he was buddies with Ronald Reagan, so Ronald Reagan let him let him um, flee to Hawaii. Then later on, his wife went back to the country and became a politician, and so did his children, and his son currently um, is the president, which was very controversial. He ran before, but he didn't win. But this time, he ran. Let me see. I'm from here. Okay, cool. So not from there. But yeah, so Bong Bong won. His they another thing about the Marcos family, the former dictator is in the Guinness, and I'm not lying. You guys can fact check me on this. He's in the Guinness Book World of Rec, well, the Guinness World Book of Records for having the largest, um, the the the, stealing the largest amount of money from a country ever. So they became billionaires with a B, and never returned most of that money because when he ran for office 2 years ago, people was like, "Are you going to return the money?" He was like, "What money? We returned all the money." And that, I'm sorry, I'm going to say that's cap. He did, his family did not return most of that money. I think they returned a little bit, but most of the money they stole from that country they kept. And again, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records that the Marcos dictatorship stole the most money from a country to in history. In history. So a lot of people were upset that he won the presidency. Um, but he said that he would run. He did say that he would try to run the country fairly. Um, he wouldn't be like his father or whatever. We'll see. Uh, um, and his vice president is the daughter of the former president Rodrigo Duterte. Her name is Sarah Duterte. She was the former mayor of Davao City, the biggest city in the southern part of the Philippines, where her father was once the mayor and used to have a death squad allegedly who would kill criminals and people who went against Duterte. Guys, look this stuff up. But she had a falling out with Marcos. So the funny thing is she's still the vice president, but she has abandoned her office. So I'm not sure because I had to ask my wife. I was like, "Is there?" I was like, I asked my wife. I was like, "So she's still vice president, but she abandoned her office." My wife was just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's crazy." What are you asking, please? About I'm not following. Justice Dude says, "Was it a legit win or was there funny business?" As far as I can recollect, I can recollect, it was a he ran a legitimate campaign. Typically, the same people who voted for Rodrigo Duterte, who wanted a more authoritarian leader, a more strong right wing leader, were the same sort of people who who also voted for Bong Bong Marcos. So he ran a legitimate campaign. I didn't at least from here I didn't hear any sort of illegitimacy in the way he ran his campaign. A lot of people were just pissed off because half of the country were for the former VP, um, who she was the VP for Rodrigo Duterte. She ran for president. Oh, another person you guys didn't know ran for president at the time is our boy, the boxing legend. Uh, um, what's his name? Um, heck, what's guys? What's the Filipino guy named the boxer that went against Floyd Mayweather? Pacquiao, Manny Pacquiao. So a lot of people don't know Manny Pacquiao is a senator over in the Philippines. So he's actually one of the wealthiest people in the Philippines because over there he's a billionaire in their money. Even here, he's worth a lot of money. Like he has a mansion here in I think in LA or somewhere in Southern California. So he's worth I think at least like 300-400 something $1 million, which would make him super wealthy over there as well. He ran for office, but he lost though. But he ran for the for president back then. But he is still currently a senator there. He even owns a basketball league there because they're um, well, some of you notice because of Dwight Howard. So the Philippines has its own basketball league. The I think it's called the PBA, because some of you might be familiar with the fact that after Dwight Howard was no longer one in the NBA, he started playing basketball in Taiwan, and then he ended up getting an offer from the Philippine Basketball Association. So he's now currently playing basketball in the Philippines, and they love him there. He's probably he's probably the tallest person there. I mean, most Filipinos don't get that tall. Like you might come across a few who are like 6 feet tall, but none of them are the height of a average NBA player, right? So I'm sure he's loving it there. Plus, I'm sure Dwight Howard is loving all the lady boys over there too. Let's keep it real here. We know Dwight Howard has is riding the rainbow. Dwight. So um, he's over there playing for the Philippine Basketball Association, and like I said, Manny Pacquiao owns his own team there. At one point when he first was running the team, I think he was a coach and he played he played as one of the team members. So most people wouldn't even know about Manny Pacquiao. The man owns his own basketball team. He was the coach and a team member. Like so like picture like it wouldn't be weird to when Jordan became part owner of what the Charlotte Hornets at the one time and even played for them for the first season. But it'd be weirder for like someone who's like a boxing a boxing champion coming in to be a owner of a basketball team and also playing for the team. That would be a little bit weird, but that's what Pacquiao did. I don't think he plays with them anymore, but I think he still owns the team. Lamia says, "Please look. I don't get what you're asking. Please, you're gonna have to construct a sent like a, con- a sentence. What you're saying is not making any sense. You're just saying, please look, please. Make can you construct a sentence so I know what you're talking about? Because none of us know what you're talking about. Oh, you're saying please look at your YouTube channel. Okay. After I get off of here, I will. You you weren't making any sense because you just kept saying please look, please. Like you you never said anything about you having a YouTube channel. Anywho, oh, here's another weird thing people don't know about the Philippines. So if people have ever looked on the U.S. Travel Bureau government website about the Philippines, because it has a listing of every country in the world there. If you go there, it's going to warn you not to travel to Mindanao, which is unfortunate because there are some places that are safe in Mindanao for foreigners to visit, but a huge bulk of the Mindanao is unsafe. So under former President Duterte, he actually declared martial law in a part of Mindanao called Marawi because they were in open rebellion against the government. But what people don't know is there is a open there's a contingent of people within Mindanao who have been in open rebellion against the government since the 70s. As this is as blowback to the again the dictatorship back then. So like I said, I think he held um, the sorry, Marcos ran a dictatorship for like 20 years in the Philippines, and a lot of people have said that it was his dictatorship it actually lowered their economic status because for people from the past, they will tell you that around the 50s and 60s, the Philippines, particularly Manila, was the most prominent place in Southeast Asia. Like it used to be referred to as the Pearl of the Orient. Like around the time of the 80s and 90s, Hong Kong became more of the most prominent place in East Asia, like economically. But prior to Hong Kong, a lot of people, like I said, in the 50s and 60s would have probably considered Manila to be the most prominent place in East Asia for commerce and trade and like people coming to intermingle and travel and tourism and stuff like that. It was called the Pearl of the Orient, and a lot of people have. So some people say the dictatorship robbed the country of a lot of its wealth and its status, because which is true because again, like I said, the former Marcos Senior is in the Guinness Book of World Records for having stolen the most amount of money from a nation, and I think he still holds that record today, even in 2024. Even though this happened, this was a record he claimed like almost 50 years ago. Um, but then again, to be fair, there are others who said under the dictatorship, the country became more unified. So I don't know. But again, one of the blowbacks during that era is that a huge contingent of people in the Mindanao region raised up an open rebellion against the national government, and it still exists today. One of the things that the American military has been assisting the Filipinos with has been special operations in the Mindanao against these rebels, because these rebels have formed alliances with Al Qaeda and ISIS, which is something a lot of people don't know, and they openly like unalive and kidnap foreigners. So this is why the U.S. Travel Bureau warns Americans against traveling to Mindanao. Again, although there are safe parts of Mindanao, like Siargao, which is a island known for like surf people who love surfing and tourism stuff like that. There's a whole movie about Siargao that came out 7 years ago, um, with a famous actor from the Philippines. I watched the movie when I was there when it came out. Um, There's a few other safe places in Mindanao, particularly Davao City. Davao City is actually known as the safest, probably the safest city or one of the safest cities in the Philippines, and it's located in Mindanao. So if people want to go to Davao, it's safe. If people want to go to Siargao, it's safe. And if people want to go to, I can't remember the name of the city because I don't want to give the wrong city name and people go there and they be like, this place is trash. Why he say to go to this place? So until I remember the name of that place, I'm not going to give it just in case I confuse it with another city. But yeah, places like Siargao and Davao are completely safe in Mindanao. And from what I've heard from my wife, people in Mindanao are extremely friendly, and they know the stigma that they're and unfortunately they know the stigma that their region of the country has because of the terrorists that are in Mindanao. So they're like extra friendly over there. Like people in the Philippines by themselves are the friendliest people in the world, but from what my wife said, the people in Mindanao just go the extra length to be friendly. Because like I said, they're aware of the stigma because they even tell people in the northern parts of the Philippines not to visit Mindanao. But for the most part, most Filipinos will be safe going to Mindanao. It's only foreigners, particularly Americans and Chinese, that shouldn't go there because they will kidnap you or unalive you. And again, some of these rebels have formed alliances with Al Qaeda and ISIS. So very dangerous, very very dangerous. Just Dude says, how does one spend $1 billion in stolen money? I wonder, like, what do you buy with it? you buy elections, you buy land. No, I don't. But that's the thing, though. They didn't spend it. That's the lie, claiming they no longer have the money. They have the money because everyone in the Marcos family is filthy rich. Like there used to be displays of the dictator's wife, of all the lavish stuff she used to buy back when he was still president of the Philippines, or dictator of the Philippines rather. They used to. I think her name is Imelda Marcos. So people can look look her up, Imelda Marcos. Like she had very lavish displays of extravagance, like all sorts of expensive paintings and clothing. It's ridiculous. Like I think some of her stuff are in museums now. Uh, Let me assist. Thank you. I have to go now. Bye. All right. Take care. I will try to visit your channel after I get off of here, which will probably be in a few minutes, depending on this. This did not go the way I attended, guys. Like I feel more like I'm talking like a travel agent than like discussing like international politics. But part of the reason is also I wasn't going to badmouth Southeast Asia. It's my favorite region of the world to visit. So I'm not going to badmouth any place where I may be potentially going, like Vietnam. Like, Vietnam is a communist country, but I'm not going to badmouth it. So that's why I was saying people should be on their best of behavior. Like if they go to Ho Chi Minh City and know whom they're talking to when they refer to that city, because like I said, if you're talking to Vietnamese Americans, many of them who came here as refugees in the 70s and 80s, they probably will still refer to that city as Saigon, whereas the people living there now would probably refer to as Ho Chi Minh City after the fall of Saigon when we pulled out, and that was the end of the Vietnam War. People don't know that right after the Vietnam War, there was a war between them and CHINA, and Vietnam won. And people be like, how did that little country beat that big country? Because that big country always also was having a skirmish with Russia at the time, so they couldn't squander the resources battling it out with Vietnam. So Vietnam won that war with them. So Vietnam is sort of like a honey badger or a wolverine. Like they're small, but you don't want to get into it with them. You don't. Mm-mm. That other country might be a bear, but the bear versus the wolverine, sometimes the wolverine wins. Okay, but a honey badger wins. So but also like Vietnam has some lovely landscapes, some really nice places to check out, and especially between like the two biggest cities, Hanoi, which is the capital, I believe, and Ho Chi Minh City. Um, the women there are beautiful. Again, it's another Buddhist country. A lot of the places in Southeast Asia on the mainland are Buddhist, whereas most of the maritime Southeast Asian countries tend to be Muslim, with the exception of the Philippines, which is Catholic. But Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and Timor Leste, I believe, are all Muslim countries. Uh, Singapore's, I don't think they have any religious sort of preference. You sort of have a mixture of people who are ethnically Chinese who aren't religious. Um, you have people who are of um, Malay ethnicity who probably will be mostly Muslim. Then you also have some who are Christians. So you have a mixture of people in Singapore. Singapore right now, guys, has the world's most powerful passport. Formerly, it was Japan, so Japan still is number two for most powerful passport. Um, Singapore is number one and most powerful passport in the world. Also, those two places are also considered the two safest countries in the world. Singapore is considered the safest place in the world. Japan is, I think, is considered the second safest country in the world. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Very safe country, very powerful passport, very healthy economy. These three things kind of go hand in hand. And the funny thing is, Singapore has extremely strict criminal law code. Like people remember when the little white kid from America was fucking up and they caned his ass openly. And so, and then Singapore even reached out to the American government and said, should we just give you guys back, give him back to you guys? American government said, oh no, you punish him. Go right on ahead and punish him. So they they caned his ass publicly. I was like, good, good. So yeah, the funny thing, it kind of defeat so it kind of defeats the liberal narrative here in America that strict laws don't work. Yes, they do. Strict laws do work. Our laws tend not to be very strict when it comes to the criminal code. Strict laws will reduce crime. I mean, it kind of should be common sense, but common sense isn't always very common. But you know, just like conservatives get mad at the fact that yes, gun control does reduce violence because it does. Well, strict laws also reduce crime. And as you see in most of these countries that are very safe, like Japan and Singapore, they tend to have very strict laws and very strict gun control. You put those two together, you make a country very safe. Now, you might argue that it takes away some rights from the people, and it actually does. Singapore is not known for its it's not known for people having a lot of rights. I'll say that. But in exchange for people having less rights there, they have more. The government will take better care of you there. So so it's funny. So you have less rights in Singapore if you're a national, but there's more social welfare for people there as well. So, and you have to realize that there's always going to be a trade-off. Like there's no perfect situation where you have low crime but but very lackadaisical laws, that you have less not a lot of violent crime, but then you don't also have gun control. Like there's always going to be trade-offs, and if liberals and conservatives can admit that there's going to be trade-offs for things, we could get things done better here. But yes, strict criminal codes reduce crime, and so does gun control. And Singapore and Japan have those in abundance. That's why they're the safest places in the world right now. Uh, and guys, I do have video footage up of Singapore. I wasn't there. My wife was there for the Taylor Swift concert last year. So if you want to see her and her friends walking about in both Singapore and in Malaysia, they went to Kuala Lumpur. Um, you can check that out on my videos. I have some in the YouTube shorts and some very short videos in my library that you can check under my catalog for travel. So anything dealing with traveling is is actually under traveling in my channel. So you guys can check that out. Okay. But I'm about to go. I only see one person here, and it's too late to be uh giving a monologue. So I'm gonna dip, my friends, unless anyone has any last questions or comments for me. If not, um, you know, we can wrap that up here. But if people are watching this on replay, go ahead and ask me a question or leave a comment, and I'll check it out. The only time I don't respond to comments or questions in my comment section is if they're very is either is I won't respond to the comments in the comment section if they were like trolling or if it's something really asinine, something like that. But usually I always do check the comment section after I upload every video. And because with the with the algorithm, it'll always update me when there's new comments that come up, even if it's from a video from like 2 years ago. I'll see it and I'll respond to it. Jesse says, "Quick hello, what's up, Jesse?" So yeah, I'm gonna dip, guys. Hopefully mention that one country. It's not gonna affect the monetization here, but like I said, that's the only country that's off the table for discussion in this geopolitics discussion that I've been having for the past 2 weeks. Is because I know any channel that says anything that can be considered derogatory will get demonetized, and it's not YouTube being evil. I mean, excuse me, it's not them being evil or trying to curtail free speech or anything like that. It's just that they are a media company, and a lot of the money they make is through ad revenue. Being that that country has the second largest potential market in the world, it would be absurd for them not to try to go after those dollars there. so so in order to be able to do ad revenue there, they have to make the stuff friendly for viewing there. So that's why they will demonetize people talking in a derogatory manner about that certain country run by Winnie the Pooh. But and also I don't want to badmouth them too because I do want to visit the mainland. I've only been to other parts of the Sinosphere, but I haven't been to the mainland yet. So, anywho, if you guys have any other questions about Southeast Asia or some of the stuff I brought up, I focused mainly on the Philippines because that's of what I'm most familiar. I also talked a little bit a bit about Thailand. Again, I talked about the places with which I'm familiar, obviously, right? But if you have questions about those places or any other that I haven't mentioned, go ahead and leave it in the comment section for me and I'll answer it. Not to say I'm an expert, but at least I'll do my due diligence. And if I don't know, I'll ask people whom I do know. All right. So, with that being said, you guys take it easy. Good night to most of you who live on my side of the world. Have a good day to the rest of you living on the other side of the world. All right, guys. Um, Take care.